Hey folks, Andrew here with Nashville Severe Weather. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued for Williamson County on the western side of Williamson County. No surprise really as this line of storms comes in from the west. Let's put this in motion as get together the details of the warning, and we'll talk about it here in just a second. Been a while since we've been on here. We're on YouTube Live now. Thanks for joining us on here, and David will be over on Twitter, and Will will be taking reports as we always do. Been a while though since we've had some severe weather come through. So this is the radar in motion as you see the line of storms coming in from the west, and they're just trying to get out ahead of it and issuing these warnings in advance of this line as it comes through for some strong winds. We are under a tornado watch that was issued not too long ago, and I know some of this is kind of hitting y'all early as you wake up in the morning, and maybe you expected this to come through later. This is coming through a little bit earlier than we thought maybe a few days ago it would be coming through. So let me look at the details of the warning here. The warning's in effect till 8:30 in the morning, so we've got a while on this one. It's in effect till 8:30, and that's when the storms will be in the far eastern side of this warning as it approaches Fairview. So severe thunderstorm warning was located along a line extending from near McEwen to 11 miles west of Centerville and to around Waynesboro. So it's a big warning here. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts are the main hazard with this as it comes through. And you kind of see how this line of storms is bowing out. So kind of see this bow shape here as it comes through Hickman County, and that's probably where the strongest winds are. And as we look on the velocity product here, kind of see some strong winds punching in through the back of this thing at about 77 miles an hour. That's up at about 4,300 feet in the air, which up there it's just so the winds are screaming anyway. So it's very, very much a high wind threat as this comes through. The main issue with this is those winds that are so strong up above our heads can be brought to the ground pretty easily, especially with this heavy rain. And this heavy rain can bring some of those winds down to the ground, and that's where we would get our wind damage in these severe thunderstorm warning polygons. So up here along I-40, this blue line here is I-40, and that's going to be about 78 mile an hour winds up there, about 4,000 feet. So it's just a matter of, are those being brought down to the ground? And they think so, enough to the point that they want to go ahead and get out ahead of it and issue some warnings on this. So expect some strong winds as this comes through. We're looking at about 8:15, 8:30 in Fairview. In fact, let's go ahead and just time this out. Let me pull up program here we do our timing with. Let's see, they're saying that it's moving northeast at 45. So let's just time this out at 45 miles an hour. And if we do that, moving to the northeast, that has it around I-65 around 8:30, 8:40. Fairview about 8:20 or so, 8:15. Downtown Nashville about 8:42. Let me get this. Well, you can see the times of arrival there. I'll tell you what, it just disappeared. Let me go back here. There we go. So you can kind of see your times of arrival. So downtown Nashville about 8:45. So that's what we're looking at as far as timing goes. This line's moving pretty quickly. So it's getting after it and moving pretty fast. So let's turn off the tracking there. All right, so we're back to regular radar here, and let's talk about what to do. You want to be inside. Don't be outside during one of these storms as they come through with these strong winds. The thing about being outside with these is there could be a risk of falling trees and that kind of thing. So as these winds come through, you want to definitely be inside a sturdy building as this line comes through. So right now, only the western corner of Williamson County is included in the severe thunderstorm warning. So that would include Fairview. It include areas out around the Craigfield area, out there on Pinewood Road, 840 and the Highway 100 exit. It doesn't go as far east as like Greenbrier, Pinewood, and Fernvale, but we expect that to probably happen as this comes through because of the threat of strong winds. Could be a little bit of hail in there. This doesn't look much like a hailer to me. It looks more like a strong wind event. They did have some hail back to the west though, around Memphis though, but this looks more like a strong wind event as it comes through. Let's see what David's saying over on Twitter. Of course, David, while we're here on YouTube Live, David's over on Twitter, and Will is taking reports. Let's go ahead and talk about reports just a second. we do, we always welcome your reports. So if you see a tree down, if you see any kind of damage that you'd like to report to us, or that you think the Weather Service needs to know about, anything severe, let us know about that. Any flooding, something that's unusual that you need to report, let us know about that. Use hashtag TSpotter in your tweet. So just fire up a tweet, take a picture if you can safely, and send that to us, and just use hashtag TSpotter, and we'll get that right over to the Weather Service. He's really great about that. He's our report champion, and does a great job with that. David's over on Twitter. He's saying that radar shows 80-mile-an-hour winds at 4,000 feet, and those 60-mile-an-hour winds are likely to arrive in the next 60 to 90 minutes. And so David mentions also that we are watching closely for spin-up tornadoes. We mentioned that in an earlier YouTube live a second ago, and but no evidence of that right now. And part of that's because the storm through the Cape is just so low out there right now. Let's go to Nolensville. Look outside of Nolensville. These clouds are moving really fast. If you go outside and look up, the clouds are moving very quickly, but not getting too dark right now. This is over on the east side of Williamson County. Checking chat, NWS chat here. They're finding some down trees and power lines, and getting scattered reports from around Stewart County of down trees and power lines. So definitely a wind threat as this comes through. Let's go back to radar. That was up around Dover, up here to the west. That line's already come through there. All right, as we look at, let's see here. Let's go look at our timing again. Switch over to this, and let's run this at about 45 miles an hour to the northeast. And if we do that, that puts it on I-65 at about 8:40. So about 45 minutes from now. So pretty. So it's coming in. All right, let's check this out here. Let's go back to radar and look near. Let's look at an example of some strong winds punching through the severe thunderstorm warning. This is out in Dickson County, and just southwest of Dickson, and there's a pretty hefty area of wind there along Highway 48. Highway 48 runs between Dickson and Centerville eventually there, and that's a pretty strong area of winds, about 86 miles an hour at 3,500 feet. So if that's being brought down to the ground, that will cause some damage. That's an example of some of the winds that we can find right in the line. I mean, right when it hits you. And right now that's in the southwest side of Dickson. So let's go up and down the line, look for other areas like that, and not seeing too much up to the north, but down to the south here, excuse me, especially around through Hickman County and up toward Dickson County. Quite an area of enhanced wind coming through there, and these are the kinds of places that you watch for quick spin up tornadoes. Not seeing evidence of that at the moment, but we'll have to watch it. So they may, you get to a point when they're trying to get ahead of this that they may have to issue some tornado warnings on stuff like this in Dickson County. We're going to keep a close eye on that. If they issue on this, whether it would issue or include Davidson County or Williamson yet, we don't know. But we're going to have to watch that very closely here for the next couple of minutes. Strong winds down in Hickman County as well, as the storm is really about halfway through there and sort of bows back to the southwest as you go through Lewis County and Perry County. And so heavy rain is going to be an issue there for sure. Checking a couple of things from the Weather Service. And not too much new, just some reports of down trees and power lines comes in. We're going to watch this close. This is on the southwest side of Dickson. And right here you can see this blue area. This is an enhanced area of wind that you have to wonder if it's being brought down to the ground. And that would be a problem. Because it's blowing, at least at about 3,400 feet, blowing I mean, we're talking 95 miles an hour being indicated on radar there, up at about 3,300 feet. So you got to imagine some of that at least is being brought down to the ground as it comes right through downtown Dixon. So this wind is coming right in Highway 48, coming right into downtown Dixon right now, and pushing off to the northeast. So we're going to watch if it has a northeast component to it. So it's going to go through eastern Dixon County, up around Burns, and let's see with the Kingston Springs, and there's Burns in there too. So that strong area wind is going to head right that direction and probably stay north of 40. So this little area of wind here would stay north of 40 as it moves northeast, and eventually, if it holds together, it gets to Davidson County. So if it does that, it's going to impact a lot of areas that have trees, a lot of trees out on the west side of Davidson County, up that direction. All right, checking on a couple of other things here. Okay, yeah, nothing really new. Some other severe thunderstorm warnings coming out to our north. And quick spin-up tornadoes are possible, they're saying in those warnings up there, and I'd say the same holds true for us as this pushes off to the east. All right, let's time this out one more time. If you're just joining us, thanks for joining us here on YouTube Live, and a little different way that we're covering warnings. And instead of Periscope, we're on YouTube Live. Thanks for being here. And let's time this thing out as it moves to the northeast. Let's say it moves at about 45 miles an hour to the northeast. And let's make sure our times are still holding up. Yeah, at about 8:40 on I-65, at about 8:40. Fairview at about 8:15. Bells Bend area at about 8:30 is what we're looking at as far as timing. Over on the east side of Davidson County, about 8:55. Nolensville about 8:50 as well. Okay, let's track this actual area of maybe weak rotation, but definitely some strong winds. Let me get a new read on that. And let's draw that to the northeast. And that would have it up around downtown Nashville about 8:50, Joelton about 8:46. So we've got a little bit of time here to work with on that. We're going to keep an eye on that as it comes in. We need to keep an eye on that little area of enhanced winds. So that's over in Dixon County. You're looking now at the radar picture, the velocities there in Dixon County. I notice a little bit of lightning popping up there around Dixon. That would indicate to me that there might be just a little bit of cape to work with, a little bit of storm food to work with right there around Dixon. So that would make sense with the stronger winds making it to the surface, and that storm just being a little bit stronger overall. Power outages being reported in Robertson County. So really up and down the line, I'm sitting here looking at some reports, really up and down the line, you can experience some of these strong winds. Is this the main event for the day? I'm just now looking over at the comments here. Sorry about that. Yes, this is the main event for the day. We do believe. Is the high wind area in Dixon moving toward White Bluff? Yes, I would say it is moving toward White Bluff. Might go just to the north, but yes, it is. Well, I take that back. It is moving toward White Bluff. Downtown looks to be about 8:45 or so. 8:40 is what downtown looks like. So we're zoomed in here to Dixon County. If you're just joining us here, this is a strong area of wind coming through downtown Dixon right now. It looks on radar, looks to be about 70 miles an hour at 3,000 feet. So this is a pretty potent storm. And there's lightning actually now breaking out on the right out ahead of this storm. I can see lightning strikes popping up here. So the storm is very strong. It might have a little bit of storm food to work with here. And this storm is basically going to be affecting areas mostly north of 40 for the strongest area of this wind. So let me put this in motion for you, those of you just joining us in here, and you can kind of see how this is working. So you can kind of see the strongest reflectivities over the rain here is trying to inch more north of 40 than it is south of 40. Not to diminish the wind threat south of 40, but the heaviest storm here is definitely in Dickson County, just north of I-40. So that's how it's moving. Let's go over and look at, switch back over here. So let's back out and talk about our warnings for just a second and what's in effect. So here's Nashville and Franklin, Davidson and Williamson counties. We have we have one severe thunderstorm warning in effect that affects us, our two counties, with southern polygon here inches into Williamson County on the western side toward Fairview. And the northern polygon does not include either one of our counties, but that includes up there around Montgomery County, Dickson County, Robertson County, Cheatham County. The southern polygon here is what affects us. It covers the western side of Williamson County, around Fairview, 840 over there toward the Highway 100 exit. And then it also goes down into Hickman County, Lewis County, back in that area. So this southern one is the one we're watching very closely, and the strongest part of the storm is around Dickson right now, pushing off to the northeast, and it looks like that part's going to miss Fairview, which is there in western Williamson County, but it looks like this storm the strongest part of the storm could brush northwestern Williamson County as it pushes off to the northeast. We're just going to have to see, but the warning is in effect here until 8:30. And this is for small hail as possible, but not considered severe. But the wind, 60-mile-an-hour winds, are definitely possible here. All right, let me jump back over here and look at comments a little bit. How is Lawrenceburg? Lawrenceburg is going to be getting this line as well. Big lightning out of Charlotte. That's over there in Dickson County. Yes. How strong are winds on the ground? We don't know for sure. I haven't seen reports of that as far as a specific, how strong the winds are at the ground, but they are likely very strong in Dickson. How long should we expect the storm to last once it begins? It's going to move fast. It probably won't last more than 15-20 minutes once it gets here. As far as the strongest part, especially this red line. As it comes through, it's fairly thin and it's moving about 45-50 miles an hour, so it won't last too long once it gets to you. But we've got to now down here to the south. You notice how it bows back to the southwest, so there's some heavier rains here. That's going to move through a little slower just by the way the storm's moving, right? So if it's moving this direction off to the northeast, then you're going to be in this rain longer, right? Just because of the way it's moving. So once it gets to Williamson County, it could be more of a rain event there because it's going to come down pretty hard for a while. All right, let's go back to the other radar here and kind of get a wide view and talk about where we are. We have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Williamson County, and that's going to be in effect till 8:30, so about another 25 minutes or so. And then they'll have to decide, especially for Davidson County, as this line comes in from Dickson, how they will handle that, whether they'll issue more warnings or let them expire. Have a feeling they'll issue some more, but we'll have to see. So severe thunderstorm warning in effect till 8:30 for Williamson. All right, so if you're just coming on, we just had a big jump in folks coming in. And let me mention this. David just mentioned this over on Twitter, 52-mile-an-hour wind gusts at B&A. Well, B&A is not in the storms right now. This is just outside of the this is outside of the storms. So 52-mile-an-hour wind gusts at B&A. That's what woke me up this morning and may have woken you up. Okay, kind of checking on a couple of things here to see if there's anything new. Checking the Fairview camera here. Camera got a little tilted. We need to go out there and fix that, but that's Fairview. Not too dark out there, but that storm's getting pretty close. It's coming into the eastern side of Hickman and Dickson counties, so it's getting closer to Fairview. But not there yet. It looks like a new severe thunderstorm warning coming out. That's going to be for Hickman, Lawrence, Lewis, Murray, Perry, and Wayne. So there's going to be another big polygon box pop up here. All right, let me check your comments while things are a little bit slow here on the radar. We're not we got this line coming in from the west, but we got just a second. Let me see if you got any questions. Feel free to fire them off. I'll try to answer them here. Power keeps going in and out. In Charlotte with heavy wind. Any risk of tornadoes south of 40, specifically Smyrna. Yeah, there's a low end risk for tornadoes, really anywhere right now, including Smyrna. Let's see what else. What's the outlook for the Baker's Ridgetop area? Same for the rest of the area. Line of storms coming in. Could be some pretty strong winds. Yeah, winds getting wild in Goodlettsville. Power outage in Antioch. Yes. Hey, let me mention this. If you have devices you need to charge, you don't have a lot of time, but I'd probably go ahead and do that, because it certainly wouldn't be unusual for us to get some strong winds enough for power to go out, bring down trees and power lines, that kind of thing, as these come through. So you're looking at a radar picture here. I'm checking a couple of different things to the left and right of me with the chat from the Weather Service, checking to see what David's mentioning on Twitter. I just got some help from a friend who just walked in, who's going to help me out and look at a couple of things. Welcome this morning. And he woke up and headed over to the house to help me with this stuff this morning. So we're going to watch this for you as it comes in, but the strongest right now appears to be up around Dixon. And let's just check these winds again. Yeah, still some very strong winds in the eastern side of Dixon County. It's moved through Dixon now, and this enhanced area of wind, we're just going to have to watch as it moves off to the northeast, because these are the kinds of little pockets of wind that can really, they can either stay just an area of strong wind and a concentrated area of straight line winds, or they could spin up a little, we call them QLCS tornadoes. They're fairly weak tornadoes, but can spin up a little tornado in the line. So we're going to keep an eye on that specifically. We saw that happen yesterday down in Texas. Little areas of wind would keep going for a while, and then all of a sudden they would spin up a little bit. All right, let me check your questions. Looks like the wind areas further southwest of Dixon could affect Franklin. Yeah. There's a risk for Franklin as well, down to the south with the severe thunderstorms. We're just going to keep an eye on that. So we'll just let's talk about the polygon that just came out. You're asking about that around the Columbia area. Yeah, these will likely be pushed off to the east as they get closer to us, but we've got a few minutes on that. Looks like they're continuing the warning for Cheatham, Dixon, Montgomery, and Robertson. That's this one up here on the top. So they're continuing that, and they'll edit that as they need to as that pushes off to the east. Down to the southwest of us, coming into more plain view now is the storms around Waynesboro, Collinwood, or down in Wayne County and Perry County, and those are pushing off to the northeast. And that's probably what's going to be affecting Williamson County here a little bit later. So that may be what you were asking just a second ago. But, as these have a northeastward component to them, these are probably the storms down here that we're going to have to watch out for in Williamson County. Has instability been less than you all were worried about or more? The weather balloon this morning showed very, very little instability. So we haven't. The only reason we say we might have been a little worried about instability is if you get it doesn't take a lot in this environment. You just walk outside this morning and you just kind of it just feels stormy out there. But the winds above us are just howling right above us, and it doesn't take a lot of instability to create a problem. And so that's what we are. That's what we have to keep an eye on. I'm going to mute for just a second. I'll be right back. And give me about 20 seconds. I'll be right back. All right, back with you here as these storms come in from the west. Let's go look and kind of get an overview here of what we're dealing with, and I'll get to your questions here in just a second. See a couple more coming in. So the line of storms right now is coming into eastern Dickson County and approaching Cheatham County. It's under severe thunderstorm warning all the way from top to bottom in Middle Tennessee. So you see yellow boxes around the entire line at various places, all the way from top to bottom. So the line of storms now is coming through Dickson County and got some very strong winds with it. So this right now radar is indicating winds from around 2,100 feet, 67 miles an hour. 2,100 feet, and that's approaching Cheatham County. That could bring down some trees if that's reaching the ground. So that's what we say. Hope you maybe been charging your devices as this comes in. The wind's going to be pretty gnarly. So down to the south, we got another line of storms coming in. Radar doesn't read that as well. We're going to have to wait for it to get a little bit closer to get a real good read on it wind-wise, namely because the radar beam down there is at about 8,000 feet, and that's not very useful on the daylight today on getting good wind data. So we're going to have to wait till those get a little bit closer, but there is a warning in effect down there in southern Middle Tennessee as well. All right, so let's back out. The only severe thunderstorm warning for our two counties is for Williamson County, and that's over to Fairview. Or that's over in Fairview and covers just the western sliver of Williamson County right now. So let me take a couple of questions here. Why can't it be a blizzard? Yeah, this would be a big problem if it were a blizzard. It's a big problem anyway with the wind, but yeah, man, some snow would be cool. Let's see. Yeah, the winds in Donaldson have been insane. Absolutely. David just said a few minutes ago, 52 miles an hour at B&A, so not far from you there at Donaldson. 52 miles an hour. That's pretty strong. We haven't had just gradient winds, just regular winds like that in a while. That's been a while. All right, let's go check out. Let's see. This is in Goodlettsville. This is looking west in Goodlettsville. And again, you just can't really see this coming. This is, it's cloudy out there already, and this line of storms is going to come in. It's going to get dark pretty fast, and it's going to hit pretty much like a wall of water as it comes in, especially north of 40 here in the next few minutes. So let's go ahead. Let's time this out again. Looks like it's slowing down a tad, but let's back up and let me show you what I'm doing here. And we're going to run this at about... let's do it at about 40 and push that off to the northeast. And if we do it at 40, that's going to be I-65 around 845. So it hasn't changed a lot. About 845 in the I-65 corridor. About 8:20 there in Fairview. It's coming on pretty soon. Goodlettsville about 8:45. Like Hermitage, let's say about 9 o'clock. Nolansville about the same, about 9 o'clock, something like that. All right, so it's likely that we'll have at least some reports for wind and stuff like that. Maybe some ponding on the roadways. So that's entirely possible that we get that. So if you would send your reports to hashtag T-Spotter, just send a tweet to us with a picture if you can of whatever damage you're looking at, and but do it safely. Don't run out in the middle of this thing and do that. We don't need reports in the middle of the storm. Just send us whatever you see after the storm has passed, if it has caused damage, where you can safely send us a picture. So send us a tweet, use hashtag T-Spotter, and we will get that over to the Weather Service. Will is the champion of reports, and he is over there just waiting for those to come in, and he'll get those over to the Weather Service as soon as he possibly can. So somebody asked over on Twitter, could hail be an issue when this line arrives? I don't think hail is going to be an issue per se, that it's going to be severe, which is 1 inch or larger. I think hail, if we get hail, is going to be very small. We don't have a lot of instability in the atmosphere right now, which we kind of need some of that to really get things going as far as hail goes. But not seeing a lot of hail out there. Could be just a little bit in Cheatham County in the heaviest part of that line right in here in Cheatham County. But not seeing just a lot of not seeing a lot of issues with hail this morning. Some reports already coming in ahead of the storm. Tree down on a roadway in Jones Chapel. That's up in Robertson County. So the winds out there are no joke this morning as they come in. Still, the only severe thunderstorm warning for our two counties is for the western side of Williamson. And that includes Fairview, but nothing yet for Davidson. But I would not be surprised if that was the case here in just a minute. Let's look at velocities. As the storms get closer, they get the radar is able to read them a little bit lower in the atmosphere, which is good for us. So we can see what's happening in the lowest levels of the atmosphere. This is at about 2,000 feet, and winds are blowing at about 64 miles an hour is what radar's reading. So that's coming from Dixon into Cheatham County now. This is an area that has a lot of trees, a lot of woods. So trees coming down are possible, especially out on these rural roads, Griffintown Road and those areas out in Cheatham County. And then up near, Beeman Park and Joelton are areas that would get this as it moves off to the east. So, see, a little bit of evidence of some rotation up there, just on the northwest side of Ashland City. Got some strong winds coming in, from the west, and could be trying to what we call bookend a little bit and try to get a little bit of rotation on the back side of it. There on the north side of Ashland City. We'll just keep an eye on that. It's been doing that for a little while now. And hasn't really generated anything, so we'll keep an eye on that as it comes in. Let's see. Is the red box a tornado watch or a severe thunderstorm warning? Oh, the red box. Yeah, sorry. This is lightning, and I tell you what, we really don't need lightning on today because we know there's probably going to be some. So I'm going to turn that off so it's not confusing. That's a box that turns red whenever there's lightning inside it. So we'll turn that off and keep things less confusing today. All right, let's go down to the south, and I'll show you a line of storms that's coming up from Wayne County. And these things are moving northeast, so this will probably be what Williamson County experiences here in a little bit. So that's down in Wayne County, pushing off to the northeast. So probably not so much, this up here in Dixon County we've been talking about, it's not as much a Williamson County problem. Looks like this southern line that's trying to get going down here around Wayne County and Perry County and Lewis County is probably what will be our thing in Williamson County here in a little bit. Let's see here. Checking with the Weather Service, not seeing much new. There are power outages in Davidson County. That's going to be over in Antioch. Just judging by the roads, actually very, very close to an area that had tornado damage last year. So some power outages over there. And that looks to be about it as far as reports so far. So you're looking right now at the radar picture kind of on a broad level. And you can see that the warnings are lined up top to bottom here. Kentucky all the way down to Alabama. Down in Florence and Lauderdale County down there around the Tennessee River in Alabama. And since we're here, we're not going to see it on radar, but radar gets out of range. But as we go down to the south, there's tornado and severe thunderstorm warnings lined up all the way down through Mississippi as well. So, so it is a strong line coming through. All right, looking at questions again. Questions about supporting us. Appreciate that. And Will, thanks for answering that question there. And appreciate all of you who support us. The gear that we're using right at this very moment was purchased through y'all supporting us. We really appreciate that. All right. So let me see if we're getting any better read on the winds down to our southwest. Not really. It's very noisy down here in these counties back to our southwest, where the what I'm calling the severe thunderstorm or the Williamson County problem is that goes pushes off to the northeast. So we'll just see. We'll just have to wait and see as it gets closer. Radar will get a better read on it. Checking another area here, or another radar rather. Off to the side. and not seeing anything particularly worrisome other than the straight line wind threat. All right, so the severe thunderstorm warning that brought us on here is in effect in the western side of Williamson County until 8:30. So that is about 9 minutes from now by my calculations. So we'll see whether they extend that or whether they reissue. And my biggest question is if they will issue a warning for Davidson County for this line coming through Cheatham County. I would not be surprised right now if they did, especially maybe a severe thunderstorm warning polygon for the areas north of I-40. Wouldn't be surprised at that. We'll just have to see. But winds are being indicated at about 57 miles an hour at about 1,600 feet. So that's right at severe threshold. Severe threshold at the ground would be about 59, 60. But those winds have come down. And part of that, it's a good possibility that part of that is just because these storms are being read lower in the atmosphere as they get closer to the radar site. And so the winds may not be as strong toward the ground. So that's a good sign that those are coming down. And I'm really not seeing anything too strong up and down the line until you get down here to the south. And the radar just has a little bit of it just has some trouble reading that well. But, radar is showing 82 mile an hour winds at 6,700 feet, but it's just not a good gauge of what's reaching the ground. So a little hard to tell until that gets a little bit closer. But strongest wind for us right now appears to be up here in goes to Cheatham County, or the strongest area is in Cheatham County now, moving off to the northeast. All right. David says over on Twitter, he's feeling okay about things now. The line near Ashland City is trying hard to go north of Nashville, may clip Jolton. And he circled an area down here in Wayne County that we were just looking at. The fact that this is bowing makes me think that there are some strong winds associated with it. Because it does have a bow structure to it, but it has a northeastward component to it that will probably bring it into southern Williamson County here as we move through time. ETAs, could be delayed a little bit, 9 to 10 a.m. and as it tries to make up its mind. So it's kind of going faster, slowing down a little bit, and as it pushes off to the east, so it'll go faster and it'll slow down, probably with the wind punching in behind it, and it'll get these surges of moving off to the east at different speeds. Let's see here. Hey, from Trousdale County, your winds are coming from the southeast. It just means there's shear, a wind coming from different directions, that there's shear in the atmosphere. And there's a lot of shear in the atmosphere. So to get tornadoes, you definitely need shear. You also need instability, which we have very, very little of today. So there's not a lot of storm food out there. Let me put this in motion while we're talking here. And there's not a lot of, imminently to talk about here. So I'm answering a couple of questions. The tornado threat really needs shear and it needs instability. We have very little instability today for sure. Looks like we have a severe thunderstorm warning coming out for Cheatham, Davidson, Dixon, Robertson, Sumner, Williamson. So they've done a blanket severe thunderstorm polygon here that'll pop up in just a second. And in fact, let's go over here and wait for that to come in. So there it is right there, and it barely clips Williamson County. But this is a Davidson County polygon mostly, and so a new severe thunderstorm warning for Davidson County, and it just barely clips Williamson. This is for the line as it comes through Cheatham County, the one we were looking at a little bit ago with the high winds. And so it's going to impact areas like Beeman Park, Goodlettsville, Bakers, Luton's, Jolton, the 24-65 split, downtown Nashville, back down to Forest Hills and Oak Hill, back down to Bellevue. So basically west of I-65 in Davidson County and a little bit over to the east toward Madison. Let's go over here, a little bit easier to see. and let's look at what they're looking at here. So I'm sure it's going to be for severe winds. This is in effect till 9 o'clock. And so the hazard is 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Yes. So as that pushes off to the east, and it was for this area here that at least a little bit ago was showing some pretty impressive winds around Dickson County. I'm going to back it up in time. And then you can see as you move east, the winds have come down some. However, the radar is here, and as storms start to move perpendicular to the radar beam, this gets a little sciencey, but as it moves off to the east and goes perpendicular to the radar beam, it has a harder time reading it. So these winds, yeah, as you say, Wayne, the wind in Ashland City was crazy strong. It very well could be, and the radar just doesn't read it quite as well because it's perpendicular to the beam. So the velocity product here reads winds going toward and away, and your best velocity readings on radar are going to be winds that are moving directly at or directly away from the radar. And as we go through time here, that's becoming less and less possible because the storm is moving to the northeast and is going perpendicular to the radar beam. So yeah, I have no doubt the winds are crazy strong there in Ashland City. Let's see. Severe thunderstorm warning for Davidson on your phone. Yes. Just got one for Eagleville and Rutherford. No, there are no warnings in effect for Rutherford County at this moment. So, no, Rutherford County's got a while before they probably are included in anything. So no warnings for Rutherford right now. And really, it's a good part of Davidson, most of Davidson, and just a little bit of Williamson here as these warning polygons kind of clip Williamson County as the line kind of bows back to the southwest. This is the part we're going to have to watch for in Hickman down to Wayne County, in Williamson County here in just a little bit. So we'll see how they come out on that. Winds died down in Joelton. It's about to pick up again is my guess as that gets there. Here's Joelton here. The line's just west of you. Yes, tornado watch. The original tornado watch is still in effect. Yes. All right, so severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Davidson County, and that's until 9 a.m. And it does clip Williamson as well. 60-mile-an-hour winds are not out of the question with this as it comes through. And I agree. Who was it said the winds? Yeah, Wayne talking about the winds in Ashland City. I don't doubt they were strong at all. And now that I look at how it's oriented with the radar, it would make sense that they are still very strong with them moving off to the northeast, and the radar just doesn't read them quite as well. Coleman Franklin, that'll change, I believe. And David is saying over on Twitter that the line looks smooth, indicating a straight line winds. Yeah, we're going to be watching for kinks. Good point from David there. We're going to watch for the small kinks, which might indicate a spin-up tornado. Right now, I don't see that except possibly up here on the northern end of the line, the northwestern end of Davidson County, northeast side of Cheatham County. I haven't had my coffee yet this morning. Excuse me, guys. And it could be a little something trying to rotate there very, very weakly around Coopertown and south of Springfield, north of Joelton. So, that's the kind of thing we got to watch in this line, are these little areas where these reds, winds going away from the radar and the greens coming toward the radar, get a little bit too close together. And that's what we have to watch out for. So we're going to keep an eye on that one. Yeah, we'll tell you to hunker down when you need to. If you're inside the severe thunderstorm warning polygon, I would hunker down from a perspective of a straight line wind threat. Not seeing a tornado threat, but you want to be inside a sturdy structure with this, though. All right, so we've expired the severe thunderstorm warning that initially got us going here, and that covered just the western side of Williamson County and over to Dickson County. That has expired, and so now the only warning we're left with is this one, which is covering still a little sliver of Williamson County on the north side from Fairview to the north, and then a good chunk of Davidson County, basically from Briley Parkway on the east side of town back to the west, if that makes sense. So we're looking at a velocity product here. This is a measure of the winds going toward and away from the radar. Green is going toward, red's going away. The radar is over here east of where you see Lakewood. The radar is located over there off of Old Hickory Lake. So it's measuring wind going toward and away from that site right there. We talked about Highway 48 a little bit ago out in Dickson County. It looks like there are trees on power lines down there along Highway 48, and that was right where that area of real strong winds moved through southwestern Dickson County a little bit ago. Still watching this area up here east of Pleasant View, right like just north of Baxter Road, up there in Davidson County, north of Joelton. Could be a little, there's a very weak area of rotation there that would be kind of heading toward Greenbrier. It would miss Davidson County barely, but maybe heading toward Greenbrier. It's very weak and it's not tightened up and broad yet, but that's the kind of stuff we got to watch out for on days like today. So looking at a couple of rotation products here, not impressive by any means, but it's just something we gotta, that's an example of some stuff we got to keep an eye on. All right, let's talk about where the rain is for just a second. And the heaviest rain is now entering Davidson County. There along I-24 and up along Highway 431 that goes up to Springfield out of Joelton. So the heaviest rain is coming in now, heaviest rain and the wind. And then back down to the west, you don't get any heavy rain till you get back down toward Fairview there around the highway. That'd be Highway 96 and Highway 96 and I-40. There's some heavy rain there as the line pushes in. So that's right where if you're going down I-40, you barely clip Williamson County if you're going out 40 through Cheatham County. So that's right where that is. And then down to the south, this is, again, where we're talking about kind of the Williamson County problem here in a little bit. The line is much further west. That's going to be affecting Williamson County. So we got a little bit of time there. And so let me check your questions. Let's see. Up in Barren Plains near Springfield, yeah. No tornadoes yet. Hopefully it stays that way. Huge gust of wind in Donaldson. Yep. Yeah, a lot of wind out there, even out in front of these things. And yeah, things getting windier in Bellevue. I don't doubt it. So basically what we have here is we have ahead of this line where you don't see rain, we have a lot of wind, what we call gradient winds. These are just everyday winds that are blowing outside of storms. Very strong south winds today. Back to the north here, when you get into the rain, is where you get the strong winds that are storm driven. So these are winds that are up in the atmosphere being brought down to the surface by heavy rain. Maybe a little bit of hail, but mostly heavy rain. And when those winds are brought to the surface, that's where it can cause a little bit of damage. So like if you go outside and you see the clouds, how they're blowing up from the south like crazy right now, that's up in the atmosphere. Well, you get some heavy rain that can be brought down to the surface. So that's where, if we get any wind damage out of this today, out of the line, that's why that would happen. All right, checking on what David's saying over on Twitter. This takes several people to do this. So David's over on Twitter. Will's taking reports today, and use hashtag TSpotter if you see any damage. And then, of course, we're here on YouTube Live. And David's saying we're looking for spin-up tornadoes along the squall line. It's like playing whack-a-mole against moles with elite reflexes, and you're not even sure the game is plugged in. So yes, it's very hard to find these tornadoes if they spin up. But to be clear, currently we don't see any, but they can come pretty fast. But it's looking pretty tame right now as far as rotation goes, looking up and down the line. All right, let's back out just a little bit. This warning here for Davidson County, if you're just joining us, we had a big push of people come in here just a little bit ago. This severe thunderstorm warning for Davidson County is until 9 o'clock. So about another 22 minutes on that one. And then the only other warning in Tennessee right now is down here to the south, and that's on this line of storms coming through Hohenwald and Mount Pleasant, eventually getting to Columbia here pretty shortly. And winds very strong out ahead of the line, but the line itself, I'm not seeing anything super crazy, but we need to keep an eye on that. Most of these strong winds, these dark blues, are out ahead of that line. Let's see here. Tree on a car in Dickson County. No surprise there. That was very strong. Let's go look at the velocities up here in southern Robertson County. This was an area we talked about. This was the area that had the real strong winds down in Dickson County a little bit ago. That's now clipping Davidson County and going up into Robertson County. And mentioned a second ago there was just a little bit of weak rotation. That has come down some. It's just not really getting its act together up there, but definitely some strong winds. Walter Hill, pretty much the same as everybody else. Going to have some water, some wind, and we know the particulars as it gets a little bit closer. Let's see here. Yeah, nothing but wind in Antioch right now. So it's going to take a little while for this line here that's coming through Hickman County to get up into Davidson County. It's moving about 45, but you kind of see how it's moving. It's moving more north than it is east. So that's why it kind of slowed down a little bit. So as you kind of move storms northeast, it means that their due east component is a little bit less. So it's taking a little while to get there. The severe thunderstorm warning is still coming out down to our south. New one down in Alabama. It's over in the Florence area, around the Tennessee River in Alabama. New warnings coming out there. A little bit of rotation indicated there, but we sort of anticipated that. The instability is a little stronger down to our south than it is up here. Old Hickory, you're kind of the same as everybody else. You're kind of in the you're right on the edge of the warning polygon, but this area of wind and rain will be impacting you probably in the next 45 minutes or so, I would say. 30 minutes maybe. All right. Let's go over here and time it out. We haven't done this in a little while. They have this moving at 30 miles an hour, so it's definitely slowed down. So let's back out just a little bit. Let's just do the polygon ETAs here. And the polygon ETAs are showing, these are built on the storm motion that the Weather Service puts into the warning. So that would be Jolton 857 those are a little bit old because it's moving off to the northeast. It's already affecting it. So let's do this. That was when they first issued the warning. So now that it's moving through, let's do this. Let's draw a new one. And let's push that off to the northeast at about 30 miles an hour. Tell you what, let's do that again. So we hear the wind howl outside the windows here. All right, let's go to the northeast, 30 miles an hour. Let's see where that gets us. And you see your times of arrival here. Greenbrier, that's up in Robertson County, about 8:42 here in just a couple of minutes. Let's do Bakers. That's in Davidson County. Bakers, 8:45. So here in just a few minutes up in the Bakers community, up around the Lutons area north of Goodlettsville there. And so Pasco down in southwest Davidson, about 8:49. Fontenelle up there on the north side of town, 8:50. Goodlettsville, 8:53. And then downtown Nashville, about 9 o'clock. So It's definitely slowed down a little bit as we get to the I-65 corridor. Brentwood's looking about 907. Of course, that kind of depends on where you are in town, but it'll be coming in from west to east. So over like in the McKay's Mill area, about 920 as we kind of hover over some areas. There's like the Fernvale community out there, about 855. So anywhere from about 9 o'clock on the I-65 corridor, maybe a little bit after. So it's definitely slowed down a little bit as it's pushed east. Let me check out your questions. Yeah, perfect time to mow the lawn. If it stays this warm, we'll be mowing the lawn before you know it. Grass will green right up. No, do not mow the lawn right now. Picking up in Green Hills. Yeah, it's just going to be windy for a while. All right. Let's see. Getting some reports now of the wind damage over in Dickson County. Seeing a carport torn apart, blown into the front yard. That's a mess. So seeing some definite areas of wind damage. Let me mute for just a second. I'll be right back. All right, back with you here. So, yeah, I don't know if it'll clear Bellevue. Looking at questions, I don't know if it'll clear Bellevue by 9:15. It's slowed down quite a bit. So I wouldn't. I mean, if you're counting on it, I wouldn't count on it clearing by 9:15 or 9:30. But it has slowed down some, and it's not even there yet. So, I mean, what we could do is this. Let me ETA the back end of the line. You know, the heaviest of it, and I mean the heaviest might clear Bellevue by 9:30, but it's going to be pushing it. I wouldn't count on it. A couple of other severe thunderstorm warnings being issued. Another one down here to the south. That one does not include Williamson, but it just came out. It includes Murray, Lawrence, areas like that. That would be, what is that? Is that Giles? That's Giles. So it includes Giles and some of Lewis. So strongest area from the Weather Service they're seeing down here around Lawrenceburg. And that's where the higher area of instability is. Let's go look at some velocities here. Let me get out of that, go back to the other radar. And actually, let's go over and look at TB&A. We haven't woken TB&A up today yet. So here's TB&A. This is a radar over in Nolensville, and it's got a pretty good read on low-level stuff. Let's just see what it's showing. And got some strong winds there in eastern Hickman County. This is not as part of a warning. About 50-mile-an-hour winds possible there. Then as you get down inside the warning polygon in southern Hickman County, going down to Lewis County, you got areas of 58-mile-an-hour winds. That's considered 58 plus, considered severe. So that would be considered severe. But what this is also reading, you see all these blues out here around Columbia. It's reading very strong winds aloft, up at about, let's see, this is at about 4,400 feet, and winds are screaming at 87, 88, 90 miles an hour, just at about 4,000 feet. That's why the clouds are moving so fast up in the sky. So that'll drop off after this line of storms comes through, but very strong winds moving overhead this morning. But that's no surprise to anybody. All right, the warning back, one of the warnings back to our west has expired. So now we're left with two warnings here. Let me go to our other radar here and kind of see where we are. We still have this polygon in effect, severe thunderstorm in effect for Davidson County, Eclipse northern Williamson County. That's in effect until 9. So another 15 minutes on that one, and then this one down here is in effect till 9:15. But that doesn't affect us as you know, it's not including Williamson County. Let's take a look at velocities on the Nashville radar. You can very distinctly see on velocities where the wind shift is, where the front is. It's right here as it comes through Hickman County, up through Ashland City, and up into Robertson County. So this is, after this, the winds will die down after that moves through. Let's see. Checking questions. Is the tornado threat pretty much gone? Tornado threat's not high. I would not call it gone, but it's not high. Anytime there's this much wind energy up there, you can get these quick spin ups. But backing out here, I'm looking. I don't see. I mean, the only tornado warning I see is way down south of Jackson, Mississippi. So we're doing better than we were on spin ups than a little bit ago, but I wouldn't totally rule them out. Has the storm reached Barren Plains yet? It's up in Robertson County. I think it has. I'm not familiar as much with my Robertson County geography, but I think it's already moved through Barren Plains. All right, so heavy rain now approaching the western sides of Williamson County. Nothing crazy with it as far as wind goes that I'm seeing. And it's moving right at the radar. That storm's moving right at the radar. And wind not overly impressive with it. Coming into downtown Fairview here in a little bit. Here's a look at the camera in Fairview. It's having a hard day. It's a little tilted there, but that's been like that actually. The wind didn't do that today, but it was another windy day that did that. So that's Fairview looking back to the west from the middle school there. So starting to darken up a little bit, but it'll get pretty rainy here in just a little bit in Fairview. Looks like they are canceling the severe thunderstorm warning for Davidson and Williamson counties. So that's good news. That means velocities have come down significantly, which according to radar they have. And it's gone. So moving down to the south, still strong velocities in the line to the south, but that does not include us. So for the time being, we are warningless in Davidson and Williamson counties. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to jump off of here, have a sip of water, and watch this as it comes through. David will be over on Twitter, and Will's going to take your reports. If you do see any damage, please send that to us. Use hashtag TSpotter in a tweet, and we will get that right over to the Weather Service. And send us a picture in your location if you can safely. But this line is still yet to come through Davidson and Williamson counties, but for the time being is looking a little bit more tame than it was, and all warnings have expired or been canceled. We'll be back with you if another one's issued. Hey everybody, back with you. We got a severe thunderstorm warning now for Davidson and Williamson County. This time it's Davidson County that got clipped, and most of it is for Williamson County, and that is for severe winds coming through. This is was issued just a moment ago. It's in effect till 9:30. So that takes it right up to I-65, and it's in effect for about another 25 minutes or so as it pushes off to the east. So let's go over and look at our other radar here, and let's get an idea of the velocities on this thing as it comes in. So what they're looking at is this little area of strong winds, and this is the strongest area. Right now it's right there between Columbia and Dixon, right on the Hickman, Murray, Williamson County corner there. And these are winds that are up at about 63, 64 miles an hour at 3,000 feet. And these are pushing off to the northeast. So definitely an enhanced area of wind there, in an area that has a lot of trees and a lot of woods as that pushes off to the northeast. So you can kind of see the motion of it there. If I back it up and then go forward, you see that that area of motion in, or the area of wind there as it moves off to the northeast. That'll cross Interstate 840. A little hard to see, but I-840 is right there between Leapers Fork and Boston. So this area of strong wind to go through those areas of woods and pretty rural area out there. And definitely could see some wind damage as far as trees down and power lines down along these roads. So that's something to watch out for, and is more than likely the reason for the warning that was just issued a moment ago for Williamson and just clipped Davidson County. So it looks like Fairview's doing okay as far as wind goes, although very heavy rain. Let's go check the Fairview camera, and it's getting washed right now. So a lot of rain, very, very heavy rain there in Fairview. So that's looking at the Fairview camera. That is tilted. It got tilted the other day. It's not because of the winds today. But we just got to get there and fix it. So down to the south, though, this is where the strongest winds are. Let's go over and look at TB&A, or I'm going to go look at TB&A here. Yeah, let me show it to you. Let me bring that back up. And TB&A is showing, this is a radar right in Nolensville, shooting back to the west here. It's showing the strong winds as well. These are up at about 55, maybe some 60s in there at about 3,000 feet. So it has a good read on these somewhat lower level winds, although the wind's blowing anyway that strong up there at about 3,000 feet. So the question remains, are these reaching the ground? And it has seemed that when we get these showing up on radar here, we've seen that actually reaching the ground. So it's entirely possible that this area, if I zoom in and turn off the radar, you see the green, a lot of green out here in western Williamson County, southwestern Williamson County, a lot of trees. It's not green right now, but you get the point.